I hope everybody is having a great start to the new year, and I appreciate everybody who watches my videos and comes to my channel. If you haven't, of course, consider subscribing. But if you're not getting the answers that you're looking for, consider coming over to my Patreon page. This is a great place to get direct access to me, where I can help answer your questions and also get help from other top shooters to answer questions if I don't have the answer you're looking for. You can participate in things like this live stream that I'm about to show you some snippets from. You can also participate in the drawings for free product and get discount codes for products over on my website. Overall, I think it's a great value. I try to make it affordable for everybody, and I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to get out and get on target, shoot better, hunt better, or just plink better. So with that, enjoy the live stream that's coming up here, or at least the snippets of it, and consider joining my Patreon page. The details are down in the description below. Have a great day, enjoy the new year, and enjoy the snippets here. And just like that, we are on another live stream. So hey, thanks everybody for showing up. A really nice attendance today. And it seems like so far this has been kind of the winning time, if you will, to get the best attendance. So we'll just keep running it the way we are, but we're good there. So I'm going to get into some other stuff, but as always, I want to get into the questions that are posed ahead of time. So what you can see here, this was last night. We had phenomenal conditions. I mean, like you'd shoot and your powder puff at the end would just sit there. I mean, it was a really nice night. But these are 184s out of the box, no processing of any kind, other than sorting by overall length. So I do sort by a group of about 6 thousandths. So this is the center curve of 1,000 bullets that are all 6,000 within 6 thousandths of each other. But this is out of a 29-inch barrel with the 184s, triple nickel, and obviously they shot really well. I probably should have clicked down after 7, but 6 was down here. So when 7 went a little high, I thought it was me. And then of course 8 bit me and I did click down, but otherwise it was a really good group. I think it's like a 2 point something inch group on these 18 shots down here. But I mean, that gives you an idea, like just out of the box, no processing, anything like that at 600 yards. They fly great. And, it is, it's just, they're good shooting bullets. So I wouldn't be afraid to test them, but just if you're going to switch from 180s to 184s, then you do need to make sure that you are doing a little bit of testing in between to make sure that you get the right pressures and everything like that. Because my powder charge on the 184, so I should say with the same powder charge between 180 and 184, it's about 40 feet per second difference in speed. So my 184s are going about 2850 right now. If I were to take that same powder charge and use the 180s, they would be going a little bit faster. So it's just something to keep in mind. Paul, yep, Paul's here. All right, Paul says, besides the March Majesta, what scope would you recommend and which reticle would you recommend? Also, which reticle would you recommend? And why? So, yeah, I think this is a question that I get a lot. I got it when I was at Southwest. I get it in emails. And all I can tell you, like what I tell people is everybody here, there's 15 people here. There's, a couple hundred people watching this eventually. And everybody's going to see a scope differently. Their eyes are going to filter out light differently. They're going to see colors differently. They're going to see chromic aberration differently. They're going to see all of these different things differently. And so it's really tough to say, like, this is the best scope. However, in the general sense of things, you have the March Majesta, which is a great scope, but not everybody loves it. I know plenty of top-end shooters who it's just not for them. They just, for whatever reason, they don't like the way it looks to them, and so they choose something else. I will say that the people I know, if they're not shooting a Majesta, then they're either going to be shooting a Night Force, most likely, Night Force Comp, which is a fantastic scope also. And then there's still a number of people that are shooting the Callus 1050 MOAK. So I would say percentage wise, if somebody isn't shooting a Majesta, they're probably shooting a Night Force. Like walking up and down the line at Southwest, and they haven't done a real survey yet for Southwest for an equipment list. But my guess is that Night Force still dominates. Um, I think the Golden Eagle is still like it's still an okay scope. Like on its own, the scope is pretty good. The price has risen quite a bit on the Golden Eagle to where like the MSRP on the Golden Eagle, oddly enough, is not that far from a Night Force comp now. And to be honest, if I had the choice, I'd take the Night Force comp every time. And the Night Force comp has fantastic glass, super clear. You could buy five Night Forces, and they're all going to be exactly the same in terms of clarity and everything that you see. Really good consistency. So I think that's a great scope. I'm also still a big fan of the Trijicon 10 mile. I think it still serves a really great sub $2,000 market for people. And it has great glass, really good reticle. That one, you only have one reticle choice. But, I would say those are kind of like, those are the big ones that you're going to see on the line. Night Force is going to have the most reticle choices. I can't even remember how many reticles they offer for the comp, but it's a lot. And I can't tell you what's best. I can tell you that like single dot. I've shot, um, like connected dot. I've shot standard reticles. I've shot floating reticle or, floating crosshairs. I've shot connected crosshairs. Like I've shot a lot of different reticles. I've had three or four different Night Forces. I've had the Callus. I've had Golden Eagles. I had Trijicons. I mean, I've shot a lot of different reticles personally, especially because as much as I hate to admit it, getting older, my eyes are not what they were 10 years ago. Um, I I used to shoot a really, really fine reticle. Like I think it was whatever the Night Force really fine one is what I started with, like the really fine. I can't shoot that anymore. Like it gets lost on the target for me. And for me, like being able to pick up my reticle quickly is really important. So I like a thicker reticle, and I tend to shoot better with a standard crosshair. But I know other people who absolutely swear by having a target dot, or some combination of that. So I can tell you that those are the probably the best scopes to choose from in F class, but I'd really recommend getting out to matches and just getting behind some guns. I guarantee you go to just about any F class match, find somebody who isn't in the middle of setting up, or shooting, and just say, "Hey, like next time you're shooting, when you're done, do you mind if I look through your scope?" They're going to say yes. I mean, people do it to me all the time at matches. Hey, can I look through your Majesta? Sure. Like when I'm done, just come find me and you can look through it because you're just going to see things differently. You might have had laser surgery, you might wear glasses, like whatever it is, you're going to see things differently. The other thing to keep in mind is people shoot matches differently. I know some people who, like when Mirage gets bad, they're going to back their scope way up, like shoot at 20 power, 15 power even, because they want the clearest picture possible, even if it means that their target reduces in size. And I know other people, myself included, who tend to shoot through it with a higher power. And again, how that looks to you is going to be different. If I put a Collis and I put a Night Force and I put my Majesta all at 50 power, they're going to look a little different. And then if you say, well, but I really probably don't shoot at 50 power that often, maybe I'll back it up a little and you could look at them all at 30 power. I know some people I shoot with have the Majesta and they won't ever shoot it beyond 50 power, but their contention is in conditions I can shoot that scope at 35 or 40 power, whereas my other scope I would have to go to 25 power. So for them, it's not reaching the top end of the scope power, but they feel that they can still shoot on a higher magnification with a particular scope over another one. So there's going to be a lot of factors that go into it. So I I don't know if that helps you, Paul. I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in here. Um, but hopefully that helps answer it.
Yeah, that helps out a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Scopes are a funny thing. Like I just yeah, I I don't know anybody like I think if you went and asked 100 people, at Southwest Nationals, what's the best scope?
100
If
answers.
everybody's being honest, they'll say there is no best scope. If you ask anybody like what's your favorite scope, you're going to get, a lot of different opinions. So I think it's one of the things that most serious competitive shooters are going to agree there is no best scope. They just agree there's the best scope for them. And that's really how I tell people to approach it. Let's see here. And then your next question was for Southwest Nationals, can you discuss the match during your live stream? I would like your opinion on conditions, luck of the draw relays. I saw a few of them that killed top shooter scores and just wondered if this is common or not. And yeah, so Daniel's on here. Daniel shoots with me and shoots a lot of the matches I shoot. He was there at Southwest as well. Um, and like addressing the what we call relay roulette. So the way it typically is going to work is at that match at least. Like here's the first thing I'll tell you. There's there's some consistency, but between a lot of the matches that you might go to, state, regional, and then a national level match, there's probably going to be a lot of different ways that the match directors squad people. So I'm only going to speak to Southwest right now. But at Southwest, they are typically going to look at, I'll just use open to start with, which is they're going to look at all the high masters. They're going to look at a couple different factors for the initial squatting. So they're going to look at participation. They're going to look at traditional ranking, stuff like that. So they're going to sort of jumpstart the squatting to largely match what I would say an estimated or anticipated final roster would look like. And that's because, in general, you want the same caliber of shooters all shooting on the same relay because at Southwest Nationals, you've got four relays. And there are times where you could go 2.5 hours between shooting, depending on which, how it's rotating with pulling targets and stuff. So the conditions could be quite different from relay 1 to 4, but as long as the same caliber of shooters are all on one of the relays in a given category, open, sling, or TR, then it's going to lead to what is probably the fairest sort of start to the match. But the thing that sort of counterbalances that is that they always try to temper the other shooters so that there's a possibility for them to sort of gain a little bit on the people who are probably a little bit better. So what you'll often see on the first day is the better shooters or the higher ranked shooters are going to shoot second on each relay. So number 2 or number 4. And that's typically because the first relay is going to be a little bit easier in terms of conditions than the second relay. Not always, but like if we're looking especially at like a first morning relay, relay 1 is traditionally going to be an easier relay than relay 2. So the shooters that are on relay 1, while they may not be all of the top ranked high master shooters, they might have a chance to gain a couple points if the conditions sort of deteriorate a little bit over the next 45 minutes until relay 2 can shoot. Now, once the first day is done, then they go to what is called seed squatting. So seed squatting, all right, see you later, Michael. Seed squatting then makes it an absolute who's doing the best to who's doing the worst, and then taking them across the firing line. So number one shooter is going to get the number one position, like whatever it is, 22 or something. And then the second shooter, the next highest score is going to get the next position and so on until they reach the end of the line. And then it's like a typewriter. It folds back over and then it keeps going. So that's going to happen for relay 1 and 2 with open. Now, there are more shooters in open than two relays can handle. So at the end of the second typewriter, they don't automatically go to relay 3. They're actually going to go to the end of relay 4 after TR starts relay 3. So TR would then be the top ranked shooter on relay 3, and then they would work their way. And then any leftovers on open are going to go at the end of the TR. So, and then that's going to happen the next day and the next day. So at nationals, it's the same. What did you say, Craig? Seed squatting sounds kind of ugly. Well, you just got to shoot better, Craig. It truly is a performance rewarding squatting system. And that is how most of the top F class matches are going to run is seed squatting because if I'm in third place, I want to shoot in the same conditions as the people that I have a chance to either be overtaken by or the people that I can overtake. I don't want, like, I've been to big matches, like state level matches and even some regional matches where, like, I've been in, like, let's say second or third, and the person who is in, like, let's say I'm in second place, I've literally had the person who is in third place two relays away from me starting first thing in the morning, and then I don't shoot until 2 hours later. And so when you've got like a first, second, third place situation, that is a horrible way to run an F class match because I hate using the words it's not fair because I'm not that kind of guy, but like it's not sporting to put people that are that close on the leaderboard on massively different relays where the conditions are just completely different. I want to win because I beat other people on the same. I wouldn't want to be the guy, like on relay one who, if I get to shoot relay one 3 days in a row just because the match director is lazy and three really great shooters are on relay four and they're getting hammered every day. Like that's kind of a crappy win, right? So that's why they go to seed squatting at most of the big matches. Now I've seen the seed squatting done differently. Like there was one year where they took the top shooter and put him on the middle lane and then they went inside out like this all the way out. And then I've seen another match where they went outside in. So but it's still seed squatted in the sense that the top 50 or so people are on the same relay. So hopefully that answers. Um,
Yeah, that's kind of what I hope they did. It's not written down anywhere, and you just don't know.
yeah, it's a very unwritten thing because there is no there's nothing in the rules that says this is how you have to squat a match. It's 100% up to the match director. Yeah, so Terry said, I'm a newbie. I was squatted 3 of 5 relays with guys on the US team. They were very generous and supportive. So you were probably like opposite somebody that was US team. Like they were shooting you were paired up with them is what you mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's actually a really as a new person, that is an awesome situation. Like
Mhm.
honestly, you will learn more being paired up with some of those guys if you just watch and talk and stuff like you're talking about. And yeah, it's fantastic when you're paired up like that. It's almost worse if you're a new person and you're sort of like middle of the pack and you get paired up with another middle of the pack person. If they're both kind of new, because there's not a lot to learn at that point, right? Like you're both probably kind of guessing at some stuff. But when you're new and you can get paired up with a really high quality shooter who can help, right? And that's why like when I did that video about going to Southwest, just ask, right? Like when you get down to shoot, that guy's done. His last relay's out. That's the time to say, hey, look, like I struggled on that last relay. Do you mind if I ask you a question? And 9 out of 10 times, they're going to be like, yeah, sure. What's up? Well, like I was looking at that flag and it just didn't seem to work. Is there something I should be doing? Or I'm having trouble with Mirage. Or, hey, can you just watch me and just maybe pick out one thing that you think I could improve on? Like I did that way back in the day, and somebody's like, "Yeah, you're always doing this," and I wouldn't do that. And so practice not doing that. And I'm like, okay, so
I had,
yeah.
oh, sorry, I had
No, no, go
Chris
ahead.
Few. No,
Hmm.
I had Chris Few as my partner during the Palma day. And
Yeah,
he was very quiet. But then right at the end, he had like half a dozen things for me to do for the next match. It was just wonderful, wonderful
yeah,
experience.
yeah. Chris is a good guy. He's on my team.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm glad. Yeah, it's really fun, and like once you start to know people there, then it's really fun. But I will say, like for all the big matches I've shot, I almost never have shot with the same person twice. There's only a handful of people I've ever actually been paired up with across all the years at nationals or Southwest Nationals that I've actually shot with twice. It's almost always somebody new every single day, every single match I go to. That's a lot of the fun. Like I shot with this guy, Jim Staub, who I've known of and kind of talked in passing, but like we've never really had deep conversations or talked a lot. And we were paired up, and he's a great shooter and a great guy. And it was really cool to be paired up with somebody that, like I don't know. And you just, you have good conversations, talk about each other's stuff, how you're shooting, like it's
Plus,
it's a really fun experience. And it's probably I think if you talk to a lot of shooters who go, I can't speak to other disciplines, but like in F class, it's probably one of the things that we look forward to the most is hanging out with somebody, as long as they're not, a complete jerk, which is pretty rare. Like most everybody's pretty cool. You have a pretty nice day and you learn stuff and you find out like what everybody does for a living and like all kinds of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. So these are some of the targets that Brendan had sent in, and originally he didn't quite understand what I meant about like shooting over here, but it's easier if you actually shoot at the center so that you can see it in the quadrant. But at the time, I had taken a line and actually drawn it. But if you look just on it on the surface here, if you think of this middle line, you can see how these are on the right side, and then this starts to center up. Now this is starting to come center, and then by here, the group is actually centered. And and then you look here and it's sort of off to the right and then off to the right and off to the right. So in terms of like where the actual groups are landing relative to other groups, this in itself is more consistent and shows me that there is more consistency on target. This is a seating depth test, obviously, but in this range. And you would do the same thing with powder. And I don't know if I've got, let me, so let's see, that was, yeah, so these were all seating depth. But like, see how this group is off to the left? So I'm strictly, because I don't really have like it's tough to do like a full quadrant, but just even a left and right, you can see how this group just wanted to be off center left a little bit. And then this one sort of centered up with one on the right. And then this one was fully centered. It's still not a really comfortable load right there. This one's tough also because of these flyers, but I think this sort of showcases kind of the best where not only are you getting good vertical, so these are all, nice clover leaves or close to one whole groups, but they are all printing on the same space on the target. So if you want to track your data like you did with velocities, that's absolutely fine. And you're probably going to start seeing correlations, because my guess is when we did this with Brendan, when I looked at his graph, that same relative flat spot is about where it was grouping here. The problem is it doesn't the graph doesn't always tell the whole tale, right? And like Eric always says, believe the target. And it's like at the end of the day, that's what you're going to be graded on, right? Nobody's going to grade you on your SDs, nobody's going to grade you on your ESs or what your graph looks like. You're going to be scored based on what the target looks like. So what I want to see and what I've been able to really effectively dial in a barrel with is shooting across at a bunch of quadrants, and I'll take a powder charge and send 3 rounds. Boom, 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 boom. And then I literally draw lines, I map it all out, and I go, okay, like where are we looking at consistent impacts relative to the same spot in that quadrant? And that is going to be a really stable load, meaning whether it's powder, seating depth, whatever it is, that you're going to get those consistent impacts in the same location on target. You're not going to have it walking around on you, because if you said, like, let's just say this is bad because it's a seating depth test, but this is going to be the longest, right? And so then as let's just say as the throat erodes, well, now I'm going to have a change on target. Now this is sort of dramatic, but you would know that something's going to change. With powder, it's even more noticeable because of temperature changes and stuff like that. But if you have something that's shooting just like one tiny hole, and it's, let's just say, in the upper right quadrant, and then you shoot another one and it's a single hole and it's on the left side quadrant, and then you shoot another powder charge and then it's in the bottom right quadrant. Well, that's telling you that your loads are walking around on you. So even though you have 3 tiny groups in a row, they're all printing in a different place on the target, and then you extrapolate that over 600 or 1,000 yards, And as the day heats up or as you travel to somewhere with a hotter temperature, now you might be going, well, what the heck? I had three consecutive powder charges and they were all shooting a tiny little hole. Yeah, but they were all shooting them on a different place on the target. And that's what the really important thing is. So look at your graphs, look at your speeds. That's great. You're going to get data out of that. But ultimately, find a process on target. And I just find that this quadrant system works the best for me. And it's the easiest for me to teach people because it's so visual. And the more you do it, the more you're going to kind of suss out. Like a lot of people might look and go, well, these all look the same. And I remember when I did the video, if you go back and watch the video I did, I actually drew lines on these and once you draw the lines, you really see okay, like this one's starting to track low, this one's starting to track left. Oh, these couple are right in the same quadrant. And I believe Brendan can chip in here, but once you went back out and validated all of that, it just kept hammering, right?
Yes, absolutely, it did.
And
And
so have you done this process again or kind of like refined a load using this process since I told you about it?
I did. I went out and I did some more testing, and then during one of my I shot a number of like practice relays, and so I had two practice relays in a row where I shot 200 10 plus X, which I'd never done before in a competition. So I'm feeling really confident that I'm getting it dialed in.
I will just bring up I do get a lot of questions pertaining to gunsmiths and like how do you find a good gunsmith and who's somebody that I can trust and stuff and and I'm biased because I trust these people and I know them, but I will just say that if there's anybody out there watching, whether you're here or watching this in review, um, I still 100% stand by Jeremy Smith, who does all of my gunsmithing and chamber work, and then also Jay Christopherson, who's up in Washington, national champion, shoots on a national championship team, amazing guy. Really understands the details in what he does, and he's a fantastic gunsmith. I have both of their names as well as some other gunsmiths that you can trust that are all on my website. So even though you're here on Patreon, like don't be afraid to say, hey, look, I'm in this area. Do you know a gunsmith? If I do, great. If I don't, I'm not going to lie to you about it. But finding a good gunsmith will make or break your shooting career, whether it's the chambering, whether it's how you bed your gun, and a lot of that. I'm going to sort of rant here for a second, but there is a very big difference between a very pretty bedding job and a good bedding job. And a very pretty bedding job is not always a good bedding job. Now, a good bedding job will almost always be pretty, but you have to understand there's a big difference, and there is a huge difference in how a good gun, a custom gun, will shoot when it is properly bedded and improperly bedded. And there's a lot of things that go into it, and I could probably spend an hour talking about it. But suffice to say that just because you can bed a gun yourself, or just because somebody you know can bed a gun, doesn't mean it's being bed correctly for what you're trying to accomplish. Now, it might be great for a hunting gun, something like that, but I can tell you that very tiny differences in a good versus bad betting job will cost you points at like an F class match when every single thing is on the line. How the gun handles, shoots, everything is so contingent on a good betting job. So I'll just say like find a gunsmith who is producing top level guns that are shooting at a top level, and you'll know that they know what they're doing when it comes to betting. As much as I know there are some fantastic gun builders out there that bed for hunting purposes or for some other purposes, they may not always be the best choice for a competition gun. And to give you an example, I have an empty stock sitting around right now. But within the bedding, you have you have areas that if they are not bed correctly, your recoil lug is the only thing that should be really contacting, right? So you have contact at the front. So at the front, you've got a recoil lug, or in a board, and you've got it here. But at some point, you have a recoil lug, and the backside of that recoil lug is what should be hitting the bedding. And there shouldn't be anything else in there that is an additional recoil lug, meaning anything else in your action that if bed incorrectly is hanging up that action from it's really hard to explain without showing, but there are things in there, whether it's your bolt release, whether it's by your pillar bedding. There's some other areas where you have to make sure that it's bed correctly. So I really can't stress enough how important a good bedding job is, a well done competition quality bedding job. Um, guys like Jay, guys like Alex Wheeler, Emil Kovan. There's a handful of other guys out there, and they're the only guys that I would ever trust to bed a competition gun for me. So just take that part for what it's worth. All right. Well, we're going on almost a couple hours here, so unless somebody's got any other pressing, urgent question, I'm going to say that's it for today.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I do have some more stuff that is coming. I know I didn't do any kind of giveaway this month, but it's been fun doing those giveaways. I should have some more stuff showing up that I've been able to get for some giveaways next month, and we'll definitely be doing that. So. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody that's here. I appreciate you guys on Patreon. Don't forget that you guys are here. You pay to get help. Don't be afraid to send me a PM. Like, I'm having trouble with this. What can I do? We might bring it up on a live stream. I think this is really helpful when we do that. Or I might just send you some information on the side. So I appreciate everybody that's here. I really do love this platform, and I love everybody that's here. So just keep with it, get out and shoot, have some fun, and we'll talk next time, guys.